Here's what happens when you finally get her back. The first few days feel like relief. You think you've won, but then something feels off. She texts you, but the energy isn't the same. You're together, but you keep wondering if she's really into it or just giving you another chance out of guilt. And the worst part, you realize you can't relax. Because now you know she left once, and you're terrified she'll do it again. Let me be straight with you. I've watched hundreds of men win the battle and lose themselves. They get her back, but they spend the entire relationship in low-key anxiety mode, monitoring her interest level, walking on eggshells, trying not to mess up again. They went from being the man she rejected to being the man she settled for. And that shift changes everything. Most dating advice tells you how to get her back. Nobody tells you what it costs. And here's the brutal truth. Most of the time, the fantasy you built while chasing her is better than the reality of having her. Because what you were really chasing wasn't her. It was the feeling of winning. The feeling of not being rejected. The proof that you're good enough. This video is going to show you why getting her back might be the emptiest victory you ever achieve. We're breaking down the psychology, the actual outcomes, and how to know if you're chasing connection or just chasing validation. If you're ready for the truth that most men aren't ready to hear, let's go. But before we dive into why getting her back might disappoint you, let me be clear about something. This isn't me telling you to give up on someone you care about. This isn't me saying she's not worth fighting for or that you should just move on and forget her. That's not what this is about. This is about protecting you. Because I've seen too many men win the battle and lose themselves in the process. They get her back, and then they spend the next 6 months wondering if it was worth it. And by then, they've already compromised parts of themselves they can't get back. So I'm not here to sell you hope. I'm here to give you clarity. Because clarity is what protects you from making decisions you'll regret. Let me show you what's really happening here. The moment she pulled back or rejected you, something shifted in your brain. You went from thinking about her occasionally to thinking about her constantly. Every song reminds you of her. Every notification on your phone, you hope it's her. You've analyzed that last conversation 17 different ways. You've replayed the moment things changed. And you've convinced yourself that if you could just get one more chance, you'd do it differently this time. Here's what's actually happening. Your brain doesn't like unfinished business. Psychologists call it the Zeigarnik effect. We remember incomplete tasks better than completed ones. When she rejected you or pulled away, your brain filed this under unfinished. And now, your mind keeps pulling up that file, trying to complete, trying to resolve it, trying to win. But here's the part that most men don't realize. The person you're obsessing over right now, she's not even the real her. She's a fantasy version you've constructed during the separation. You remember the good moments in HD and the bad moments in blur. You've edited out her flaws and amplified her best qualities. You've turned her into this perfect woman who doesn't actually exist. And you're chasing a ghost. That's the trap. You think you're trying to get her back. But what you're really trying to do is prove something. Prove you're good enough. Prove you're not the guy who gets rejected. Prove that you can win. And that need for proof, it's got nothing to do with her. So in this video, we're going to break down exactly what happens when you actually succeed. First, I'll show you the psychology behind why this chase feels so meaningful. Because understanding the mechanism is the first step to escaping it. Then we'll talk about what really happens in those first days and weeks when you get her back, and why it almost never feels the way you imagined. After that, I'm going to help you figure out if you're chasing her or chasing your ego, because there's a massive difference. Then we'll get into the real cost of getting her back, the stuff nobody talks about. And finally, I'll give you a framework for making the right decision for you, whether that's pursuing her or walking away. Let's start with why this feels so compelling in the first place. Because once you understand the mechanism, You'll see why the feeling is so powerful and why it's so deceptive. When she rejected you or pulled away, your brain interpreted that as a threat. Not a physical threat, but a social and psychological one. And your nervous system responded the exact same way it would to any threat, by focusing all your mental resources on solving it. That's why you can't stop thinking about her. Your brain has categorized this as an urgent problem that needs to be fixed. But here's where it gets interesting. Every time you think about her, every time you replay a memory, every time you check her social media, your brain releases a hit of dopamine. Not because you're getting closer to getting her back, but because you're engaged in the pursuit. The chase itself becomes addictive. You're not addicted to her. You're addicted to the feeling of trying to get her. And there's more. Psychologists have found that intermittent rewards that come randomly and unpredictably, are the most addictive kind. That's why slot machines work. That's why you keep checking your phone. Because maybe this time she'll text back. Maybe this time she'll show a sign of interest. That unpredictability keeps you hooked. On top of all that, there's something called psychological reactance. When something becomes less available to us, we want it more. It's why kids want the toy they can't have. It's why people want what's scarce. The moment she became unavailable, your brain automatically increased her value. Not because she changed, but because scarcity triggers desire. So what you're feeling right now, this intense pull, this obsession, this need to get her back, it's not proof that she's the one. It's proof that your brain is doing exactly what evolution designed it to do when faced with rejection and scarcity. It's a response, not a truth. But understanding why you're obsessing doesn't prepare you for what happens when you actually succeed. Because here's what most men don't talk about. The reality rarely matches the fantasy. The first few days feel like relief. You think you've won. She's texting you again. She's saying she wants to try. And for a moment, everything feels right. But then, usually within the first week or two, something starts to feel off. The energy isn't the same. When you text her, she responds, but there's a distance you can't quite name. When you're together, you keep analyzing her mood, looking for signs that she's really into it. You find yourself wondering if she's here because she genuinely wants to be or because she feels guilty about how things ended. And you can't relax into the relationship because part of you is always monitoring, always checking, always waiting for her to leave again. Here's the brutal part. The power dynamic has permanently shifted. She knows you'll chase. She knows you'll accommodate. She knows that when she pulled away, you came running. And even if neither of you says it out loud, that knowledge changes everything. You're no longer operating from a place of mutual attraction. You're operating from a place where she has more power, and both of you feel it. And then there's the mystery problem. When you were chasing her, she was a puzzle. There was challenge. There was uncertainty. There was the thrill of pursuit. But now that you have her, all of that is gone. The relationship starts from a place of you proving yourself, not her earning you. And that kills attraction faster than almost anything else. Most men don't realize this until they're months in, and by then they've invested so much that walking away feels impossible. They've already told everyone they got her back. They've already rebuilt their life around her. They've already compromised parts of themselves to make it work. And they're stuck in a relationship that feels like a hollow victory. That's the winner's curse in action. You won the battle, but you're losing the war with yourself. And this is where it gets uncomfortable, because you need to ask yourself an honest question. Are you chasing her? Or are you chasing the win? Here's how you know if it's your ego talking. First, if the idea of her moving on with someone else bothers you more than the idea of not being with her, that's ego. You're not upset about losing the relationship. You're upset about losing to someone else. That's not love. That's competition. Second, if you can't stand the thought of being the guy who got rejected, that's ego. You're not fighting for her. You're fighting for your self-image. You need to be the man who doesn't lose. You need to prove you're desirable. You need external validation that you're good enough, and you're using her as the measuring stick. Third, if most of your thoughts are about what you'll say when she comes back, how you'll act, what you'll post on social media to show everyone you won, that's ego. You're more focused on the optics of getting her back than the reality of being with her. You're chasing the story, not the relationship. Fourth, if you find yourself keeping score, remembering every time she hurt you, planning how you'll make her see what she lost, imagining the moment she realizes she made a mistake, that's ego. Love doesn't keep score. Ego does. And if you're fantasizing about her regret more than her happiness, you don't want her back. You want revenge disguised as reconciliation. And fifth, if you can't honestly list 5 specific reasons why being with her would make your life better, not just make you feel validated, but actually better, then you're chasing a feeling, not a person. You're chasing the relief of not being rejected. You're chasing the dopamine hit of winning. You're chasing the fantasy version you built in your head. But you're not chasing her. Here's the decision framework. Ask yourself, if no one ever knew whether you got her back or not, if this decision was completely private, no social proof, no story to tell, no validation from anyone, would you still want her? If the answer is anything other than an immediate yes, you're chasing ego. Because here's what nobody talks about: the real cost. And I'm not talking about time or energy. I'm talking about what you give up to make this work. First, you compromise your self-respect. Think about what you had to do to get her back. Did you have to apologize for things that weren't your fault? Did you have to accept blame for the relationship ending even though it was mutual or even her decision? Did you have to chase while she played it cool? Every time you accommodate, every time you pursue while she retreats, every time you prove yourself while she watches, you're training her that you're the one with less value. And you can't undo that training. Second, you reinforce a pattern. She learns that she can leave and you'll chase. She learns that pulling away gets your attention. She learns that uncertainty and distance make you try harder. And now you've created a blueprint for your entire relationship. Anytime she feels you're not giving her enough attention, she knows exactly how to get it. By threatening to leave again, you've essentially taught her that withdrawing works. Third, you kill attraction through desperate energy. Attraction isn't logical. You can't negotiate it or convince someone to feel it. The energy of chasing and proving yourself is the opposite of attractive energy. It's needy. It's insecure. It reeks of, I need you more than you need me. Even if she comes back, that energy lingers. She felt it. And once she feels it, it's almost impossible to make her unfeel it. Fourth, your frame is permanently weakened. Frame is about who's more comfortable with the outcome. If you're more invested in the relationship than she is, she holds the frame. And when you chase her back, you've shown your cards. You've revealed that you need this more than she does. And that imbalance kills relationships. And fifth, and this is the one most men don't consider, the opportunity cost. While you're spending months obsessing over her, replaying conversations, strategizing your next move, analyzing her behavior, watching her social media, you're not meeting other people. You're not healing. You're not growing. You're not discovering that there might be someone who actually appreciates you without all this drama. You're stuck in a cycle, and every day you stay in, it is a day you could have spent building something real with someone who doesn't make you feel like you're constantly proving yourself. That's the real cost. Not just what you give up to get her back, but what you lose in yourself while chasing her. So the question becomes, how do you know if it's actually worth pursuing her, or if you need to walk away? Here's your decision framework. First, separate the relationship from the rejection. If you could have the relationship without the drama of the rejection, if she'd never pulled away, never made you chase, never made you feel like you had to prove yourself, would you still want to be with her? Because if the chase is what makes it exciting, you don't want her. You want the validation that comes from winning her. Second, ask yourself if you'd be proud of the version of yourself you'd have to become to make this work. Not the version you pretend to be to get her back. Not the version that accommodates and adapts and walks on eggshells, but the version that shows up authentically and still gets chosen. If you can't imagine being yourself and having her want you, then you're building a relationship on a foundation of performance. And performance is exhausting. Third, check your motivation. If your primary feeling is I can't let her get away with this, or I need to prove I'm better than the next guy, or I can't handle being the one who got rejected, walk away. Those are all ego-driven motivations. And ego-driven relationships are doomed from the start. The only motivation that works is I genuinely believe we could build something valuable together, and I'm willing to pursue it without compromising my self-respect. Fourth, consider the alternative. What if you just let her go? What if you stopped the mental gymnastics? Stopped analyzing every text? Stopped strategizing your next move? What if you walked away and focused on yourself? Because here's what happens when you genuinely let go. You get clarity. Either you realize you're relieved and didn't actually want the relationship, you just wanted validation. Or you realize you genuinely miss her for who she is, not what she represents. And that clarity is valuable either way. And fifth, understand that walking away doesn't mean giving up. It means protecting yourself. It means refusing to constantly prove your worth. It means choosing self-respect over temporary relief. And ironically, walking away often creates space for her to see your value. Not as a strategy, but because when you stop chasing, you stop being the guy who needs validation. You become the guy who's okay either way. And that changes everything. So here's the framework. If you can pursue her without losing yourself, without compromising your self-respect, without becoming the accommodating version of yourself who walks on eggshells, pursue her. But if getting her back requires you to shrink, to prove, to chase, to play small, walk away. Because the real win isn't getting her back. The real win is protecting who you are. And this is where most men get it completely wrong. They think getting her back is the power move. But here's the truth. The men who walk away without looking back are the ones women actually regret losing. Not the ones who chase. When you walk away, you're saying, I value my self-respect more than I need your validation. That energy, that certainty, that groundedness creates real attraction, not pursuit. The absence of it. Women don't regret losing the man who chased. They regret losing the man who chose himself. The man who walked away when things got toxic. The man who refused to play the game. That man is rare. That man knows his worth. And that's the man they think about years later. Here's the brutal truth. If you have to convince her, you've already lost. You can't negotiate attraction. You can't chase someone into loving you. Any relationship that starts from proving yourself is built on an unstable foundation. The real power move isn't getting her back. It's choosing yourself, walking away. And here's the paradox. When you truly choose yourself, you become the version she would have wanted. But by then, you won't care anymore. I know how this sounds, but I'm not telling you to give up. I'm telling you to stop giving your power away. I'm telling you to stop making someone else the prize when you should be the prize. Because choosing her at the expense of yourself isn't a win. It's a loss disguised as victory. So ask yourself, would the man you want to become chase someone who walked away? If the answer is no, you already know what to do. So here's what I want to know from you. Have you ever gotten her back and felt disappointed? Or are you currently in that chase right now, wondering if it's worth it? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one, and I'm genuinely curious where you're at with this. Because here's the thing. This conversation is bigger than just this one video. This channel isn't about feeding you hope or giving you tactics to manipulate people. It's about helping you see situations clearly so you can make decisions that protect you, not destroy you. It's about building a community of men who choose self-respect over validation. Men who understand that walking away isn't weakness. It's strength. And if you're someone who's realizing right now that you've been chasing ego instead of connection, you're not alone. That realization is actually the first step toward making better decisions. Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. And once you see it, you get to choose differently. So whether you're still chasing her or you've already walked away, drop your experience in the comments. Let's build a conversation around this, because you're not the only one going through it. And sometimes just hearing that other men have been exactly where you are makes all the difference. Remember this, you're not losing by walking away. You're winning by choosing yourself. She doesn't get to be the prize. You do.